Most people would walk right past them, not because they're heartless, but because it's easier not to get involved. But what this man did next will challenge everything you think you know about strangers, trust, and second chances, because sometimes the difference between danger and salvation comes down to one decision. And tonight, that decision will change 3 lives forever. Before we go any further, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because stories like this don't just happen every day. And the ending, you won't see it coming. Christmas night. A night filled with laughter echoing through warm homes, soft music playing behind closed doors, families gathered around food, sharing moments they'll remember for years. But outside, on a quiet street most people would never notice, a completely different story was unfolding. Rachel sat on the cold pavement, her back pressed against a rough concrete wall. The surface beneath her had long lost any warmth, and the freezing air wrapped around her like it was determined to break her. Her arms were locked tightly around her 2 children, not just holding them, protecting them, trying desperately to keep them warm with what little heat her body could give. But the cold didn't care, it slipped through anyway. Her fingers had gone numb. Her lips were dry and cracked. Her entire body ached from exhaustion. But none of that mattered as much as the small, trembling voice beside her. "I'm really cold, Caleb." His voice was so soft, so fragile, it almost disappeared into the night. Rachel swallowed hard, forcing herself to stay calm. "It's okay," she whispered, tightening her arms around him. "Just stay close to me." Even as she said it, she knew those words weren't enough anymore. Lily sat quietly on her other side. She didn't speak. She didn't complain. She just watched her mother, her eyes searching for something, anything that felt like certainty. But Rachel had none left to give. 6 months ago, everything had been different. Rachel had a home, not perfect, not big, but safe. There was laughter in the mornings, chaos in the afternoons, and peace at night. Then slowly things began to fall apart. Bills piled up, work became unstable, unexpected problems turned into permanent ones. And before she could stop it, everything collapsed. Now all of it had led to this moment. A sidewalk. A freezing night, and no plan left. Across the street, a man stood in the shadows, still, watching. He wasn't packing, wasn't distracted. He simply stood there, observing, taking in details most people would ignore. The way Rachel kept adjusting her coat to cover her children. The way Caleb's shivering was getting worse. The way Lily stayed silent, too aware for her age. He had been watching long enough to understand something most people wouldn't notice. This wasn't just a bad night. This was the breaking point. The street remained quiet, too quiet, then footsteps, slow, measured, coming closer. Rachel's body reacted instantly. Her muscles tight, her breathing shifted, every instinct inside her screamed one thing: protect your children. She moved slightly, placing herself between the sound and her kids, ready, alert, prepared for anything. The man stepped into the faint glow of a streetlight. His face became visible, mid-40s, worn jacket, a face that looked like life hadn't been easy. But his eyes weren't threatening. They were heavy, tired, like he carried stories he never spoke about. He stopped a few feet away, not too close, not too far, and for a moment no one spoke. "Come with me." Simple words, but in that moment they didn't feel simple at all. Rachel blinked, caught off guard. "I'm sorry, what?" "You shouldn't be out here tonight," he said calmly. "It's too cold. I have a place nearby. It's not much, but it's warm." Her heart started racing. Every warning she had ever been taught rushed through her mind. Don't trust strangers, don't follow anyone, don't take risks. But then Caleb shivered harder against her and everything became complicated. Rachel asked quietly, "Why would you help us?" The man looked away for a brief moment, as if the answer wasn't easy. Then he said, "Because someone once helped me when I didn't deserve it." No hesitation, no performance, just truth. Rachel looked down at her children. Lily's eyes met hers, silent, questioning. Caleb trembled in her arms, and in that moment, fear and reality collided. She could stay here and risk everything, or trust him and risk something else. "Okay," she whispered, "we'll come." Man nodded once, then turned and started walking. He didn't check if they followed, didn't try to convince them, didn't explain further. He simply walked like he understood that trust couldn't be forced. It had to be chosen. Rachel hesitated for half a second. Then she took her children's hands and followed. They walked through streets Rachel had never noticed before. Dark corners, closed shops, silent intersections, every step felt uncertain. Every second stretched longer. Rachel stayed alert, watching everything, listening to every sound, ready to react if anything felt wrong. But something about the man didn't feel threatening. He didn't rush, didn't act nervous, didn't speak unnecessarily. He just walked, steady, calm, like someone who had nothing to hide. If you're still watching at this point, drop a comment with "I'm still here." Let's see who's truly following this story. Finally, he stopped. In front of a small building, old, worn, nothing impressive. But one thing stood out: light. Warm light spilling softly from inside. He opened the door and stepped in, then waited, not forcing, not rushing, just giving them the choice again. Rachel stepped forward first. Then the children, inside, warmth wrapped around them instantly. It was almost overwhelming. Rachel exhaled deeply without realizing she had been holding her breath for so long. Caleb leaned into her, calmer now. Lily's shoulders relaxed slightly. For the first time in hours they felt safe. The place wasn't fancy, simple furniture, clean space, quiet atmosphere, but it was enough, more than enough. "Sit," the man said gently. Rachel hesitated for a moment, then slowly sat down, still cautious, still watching. He brought blankets, then food, nothing extravagant, but warm, real, enough to make a difference. The children ate quietly, carefully, as if they were afraid it might disappear. Rachel watched him closely, trying to understand, trying to read him, trying to figure out why. "What's your name?" she finally asked. "Daniel," she nodded. Then after a moment, "What happened to you?" Daniel sat down slowly, took a breath. "I had a family once." The room went still. "I lost them in one night." No details, no explanation, but the weight of those words filled the space. "And someone helped me when I had nothing left." Felt something shift inside her, not full trust, not yet, but something close to understanding. Hours passed. The children eventually fell asleep, wrapped in blankets, peaceful for the first time in a long time. Rachel stayed awake, watching, thinking, trying to make sense of everything. Then she noticed something: a photograph on the wall, a family, Daniel smiling, happy, alive in a way he no longer was. That's when she understood this wasn't random. He didn't just help them, he recognized them. Because he had once been exactly where they were. Morning came softly, golden light filtering through the window. Caleb woke first, then Lily. Rachel sat quietly, different, still tired, still uncertain, but no longer hopeless. Daniel stood near the door. "Stay as long as you need," he said. "No conditions, no expectations, just kindness." Days turned into weeks. Rachel found stability, opportunities, a path forward. But she never forgot that night, because it taught her something most people never truly understand: that sometimes the people who help you the most aren't strangers. They're people who see themselves in your pain, people who remember what it feels like to lose everything, and choose to make sure someone else doesn't have to go through it alone. And sometimes all it takes is three simple words: "Come with me." This story made you feel something? Don't just scroll away. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and drop a comment below. And if you believe one small act of kindness can change everything, subscribe, because the next story might change the way you see the world.